Okay, so hopefully everything is fired up and ready to go this time, and that I don't have it muted for the first 4 minutes. But continuing what we've been doing, we're going to answer at least 5 questions on live today. I may even come back, depending, and do more later. We'll see. But trying to clear a backlog on TikTok, and found out that this may be the best way to just roll several questions into a video. Remember that almost everything that I'm going to tell you about is found in my book, You Are More, Advocating Your Care in a System That Doesn't. If you want the book, it's an easy find, drmikesays.com. Hold on a second again, drmikesays.com. It's an easy find. It's also an easy place to go because other people need donations too. drmikesays.com is where you can go and ask for donations. You can go and ask for questions that I might answer right here on TikTok. Excuse me. I don't remember where the hell I am. On YouTube. And might even answer in a blog, drmikesays.com. So consider going and giving. But let's get started with why we're here. Shall we? It says over here. Now there's going to be, I'm going to have to paraphrase, because I got one on here that's single spaced and this long. So I'm going to have to do a little paraphrasing in order to get the questions out. It says, I've been watching and listening to you for a bit. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia maybe 20 years ago and have a history of depression and panic attacks. I've been on Xanax for years and was on Norco 7.5 for the pain. Okay, September of this year, I was in an ATV accident that sent me into ICU by medevac. Since that accident, I've been taking oxycodone 10s and have now been diagnosed with CRPS, or complex regional pain syndrome. My doctor is taking me off my Xanax, and I just got my pain med filled, and it says subject to change, which makes me think that they're planning on stopping that also. I'm at a loss for words at how heartless the doctors have become. I honestly have no clue what to do from here. The pain is so real, and the anxiety is through the roof. Any suggestions? Well, the suggestion is that they're telling you about chapter, the chapter that begins, when you know you need a new PCP. That's what this is all about. You're being told by your provider, by their behavior, that you need to go somewhere else. Anybody that would just, now keep in mind, let's fall down the steps here. You had fibromyalgia, depression and panic attacks, and you were on Xanax and Norco successfully for years. You were on those successfully for years. And they came in after your ATV accident and just cut you off of your Xanax? What was the clinical reason? Here's the thing. The question is, amen, okay. The question is, what was the clinical reason for stopping the Xanax? And the reality is that there probably wasn't one. They didn't like the fact that you were on Xanax and oxycodone because the government told them that that was bad. It's no smarter. It is 0% smarter than South Park when the teacher would go, okay, everybody, you shouldn't do marijuana because that's bad, okay? And they get the same blank stares in response to that. So the point is, as soon as they cut you off of your Xanax, you knew you needed another provider. You did. You knew it. And I think when you're sending me this question, you need another provider. The real question is, I don't know where to start. Start somewhere, okay? And right back at you. I love you too. But we start somewhere. Don't go anywhere until they take your pain meds away, okay? But you need to start searching for someone that understands that you can have comorbid conditions. Pardon me a second. You can have comorbid conditions of pain and depression and anxiety, and you could have a reason for needing both. Now, there are sometimes I wish I could pause live, but I can't. But there is a when people talk about you should never be on both, I say to you, really? Never? There are never any circumstances when someone would need chronic benzodiazepine. Are we finally here? Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. Anyway, I don't think YouTube has this live thing quite figured out, okay? Too many things will just completely upset its apple cart. But back to this. There is no way that anybody can say that there are no circumstances when being on both is appropriate. Some people have been through hell, and the only way they make it through the day is with their pain medicines and their benzodiazepines and their antidepressants too. I don't believe in being on depressant therapy either way. But going back to your question, as soon as they cut your Xanax, you need to start looking for someone else. And so, either go find a provider who's willing to write for your Xanax, like a behavioral health provider, or go back to your PCP, tell them what was done to you. And if this is your PCP, that just means you need a new PCP. But tell them what was done to you and at least ask them to bridge your previous therapy until you can find another provider. That's the key point. That's why most of us that do primary care, let me say this again. That's why more people should be doing what we do. That we do a dual specialty primary care pain management so that we can understand that you sometimes need your benzodiazepine, and that same person can sometimes need those opioids as well. So the suggestions are start looking. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but you've got to start looking. There is no sustaining where you're at anymore. They told you that when they didn't ask you, they just stopped your Xanax. Okay? That was the unfortunate truth. Now, let's go to question number 2 today. It says, when I went to the ER, why I went to the ER. I currently get tramadol for pain, meaning 90 a month, but they weren't working, so I went to the ER for some help. They sent over a prescription to the pharmacy, and they're saying I can't get it. That doesn't make any sense. Your question leaves a lot, but I'm going to fill in some blanks for you. If the ER sent in a prescription for the exact same medication you get monthly, your pharmacy won't fill it. Let me say that again. If you're on, let's leave tramadol out of it for just a minute. But if you're on oxycodone 10 milligrams 4 times a day, and you go break your leg, okay, and legitimately have acute on chronic pain, and the ER sends in a prescription for oxycodone 10 and says you can now take it 5 or 6 times a day, the pharmacy still won't fill it because you are in the coverage period of the last prescription that you got, and now they don't have the ability basically to override. So what happens is when you have acute on chronic pain, the only way that the pharmacy is going to fill your prescription is if it's for a different pain medication. And this is how stupid it gets, y'all, because it has nothing to do with morphine equivalents. This rule has zero to do with common sense or morphine equivalents. They have to write for a different medication, even Percocet 10-325. So remember, I started this story with you're on oxycodone 10 milligrams 4 times a day with no Tylenol. If they write for the Percocet 10-325 twice a day, in addition to your 4 times a day, believe it or not, all of a sudden, insurance starts paying. Why? I hope you don't expect it to make sense. All I can do is tell you what it is. Okay? All I can do is tell you what it is. And there is no, exactly. See? But see, Tony, they are just as wrong they're just as wrong with you as they were with the first question. They are. It's just ridiculous. And the problem is there's nobody standing up. There's not enough people standing up and say, hey, this is ridiculous. Moving. So my point being is, for those of you that get short prescriptions because you've had an incident in the middle of the month, just make sure that they write for something different than you normally get as part of your maintenance meds. It's going to go a lot smoother. Okay? I used to say write for Dilaudid because no one was writing for Dilaudid. Then all of a sudden, Dilaudid was the only thing that people had available, and so everybody wrote for Dilaudid, and now it's gone back the other way. Now Dilaudid's not available, so just make sure it's different. Okay? A great example, I already gave you a great example, is the oxycodone 10 versus the Percocet. But you could also do a short prescription of Oxy 5s. You could do Percocet 7.5s. You could do morphine 15s. You could do a lot of different things, and it has nothing to do with what we're saying, except it has to be different. Okay. All right. Well, now the next person is funny because this person asked to be anonymous, and the funny thing is the way I'm doing these questions, they're all anonymous, so that's good. Anyway, I'm in a state on the eastern coast below Maryland. We'll go with that. Got to make it as anonymous as possible. My primary care doctor took over writing my hydrocodone 4 times a day after pain management closed. I recently underwent a spinal fusion and had a cage put in. My primary says he can only write 10 milligram hydrocodone, which I've been on for around 20 years because it would be too many morphine equivalents. Is this because he's primary care and not pain management? No. It's because your primary care doctor isn't comfortable writing more than that. And I wish I wish that your primary care provider would just be honest. There's a chapter in the book called When You Say No, Tell the Truth. And in this particular version, it's on page 54. When you say no, tell the truth. If you're going to tell somebody you can't do something, tell them the truthful reason why you can't do it. Your primary care doctor should just have said, I'm not comfortable managing this. Okay? Your primary care doctor also should have said, I'm going to give you more while I'm bridging you to pain management because I do recognize that having major surgery with a spinal cage is different than the pain you've had for the past 20 years being successfully managed on your hydrocodone 10s. Okay? Again, there was room for honesty on so many levels, and the number one thing is they needed to give you that honesty. If you're going to say no, for heaven's sake, just tell them the truth. Because the answer doesn't change. Why do you have to lie about it? If the answer is still no, bless God, if the answer is no, it ought to be easier to tell the truth. It ought to be easier to tell the truth. I'm going to tell you no, and this is why. See how easy that was? It's not hard. So, it's not because he's in primary care. It's because he's not comfortable. He just needs to be honest about it. And you know, some people are non-confrontational. I think you probably get the impression that I'm not someone. Some people, yeah, I'm not some people. My wife will tell you that confrontation is not my weak point. It is what it is. Okay. I hope that helps. We're already up to question 4. Now, this is the one I'm going to have to... All right, y'all. Bear with me. I got this one. This is the one that's about this long. Okay. Really appreciate all your videos. Thank you for that. I've learned a lot and have a few questions. For a pain patient that's been force tapered, force tapers are medical torture. First of all, hold on a second. I'm going to give you that. This, again, go here. If you want to know all the things that this book says, this is where you go. But on page 83, forced tapers are medical torture. I know it's backwards, but you get it. You know the book really has this information in it. Okay, for a pain patient that has been force tapered to a low-dose pain meds from high-dose long-acting to a low-dose short-acting and are suffering, would you recommend switching to Suboxone or Methadone? First of all, as a general rule of thumb, I don't recommend switching to both, but we're going to keep going. Is it methadone for pain? Suboxone can be as well. I know the pain doctor will not prescribe methadone, but offered Suboxone. Going with methadone would mean transferring out of the pain management and going to a clinic. But at this point, maybe that's better. The person I'm talking about does not want to go on Suboxone. Then he shouldn't have to. People should not be forced inappropriately on Suboxone for pain management. I write Suboxone. I think it's a fantastic drug, but I don't use it for pain management. I use it for people who have two problems, pain management and substance use disorder. I do not write it for pain management only. Now, does that mean that nobody does? No, but it does mean that it's not indicated for it. And quite honestly, all you do is you medically confuse their freaking chart. We spend too much time medically confusing people's freaking charts. Okay? So it's not better. The person I'm talking about does not want to go on subs. He struggled mentally and physically with the forced taper and the speed at which it was done. He had a fusion surgery, blah, blah. Okay. He went on a stable dose of pain meds. He was able to exercise. Listen to this, because this is the problem with forced tapers. Before they forced tapered him, he could exercise. He could do all of his independent activities of daily living, okay? He could live his life and function, but the taper has changed him. And it does. It changes you not only from the pain, but of the mental, that changes you mentally when you are treated so callously, so with such little regard. I'm not saying there is never a reason to taper somebody. There are clinical reasons, which we'll cover in some other video. But just coming in and saying, I don't like your numbers, your numbers are too high, and just cutting you off at the knees is completely inappropriate. Completely. Y'all, do me a favor. Y'all got to spread the word out that I'm giving this content on TikTok now. All of you that are coming in and out, please tell people that this is here. But anyway, going back to this. The taper has changed him. No duh. Went on a stable dose. Okay, here we go. It's all scary, and his doctor does not care at any time. Red flag. Time to go find a new doctor. Now, considering the methadone clinic are scared. I get that. They just offer all kinds of additional medicines. I just want him to be stable again. That's the words of somebody who loves that person. See, the problem is that he's dealing with a bunch of people that don't love him. Remember, we need to normalize loving our patients. Now every month there's an issue with this low dose prescription trying to get it filled because they're always out of it. So it's stressful. It's just also stressful. I don't know what to do to help him. Any guidance you can give is greatly appreciated. Let's go back. Okay. I know that methadone seems like your only option. Let me just say that I don't think methadone is your only option. I would try finding out if he was a kratom responder. And this might be one of those times. Listen, remember how I told you need to be on kratom or pain medicine, but not both? If I was in the situation where I was trying to find my new provider because I knew that I had to abandon my old provider because they were as heartless as this guy was, this is one of those times when I would use pain medicine for part of the month, kratom for part of the month. I still wouldn't mix it, but I would definitely find out if I was a kratom responder and manage myself half with the pain medicine and half with the kratom. If I was in your shoes, not medical advice. Remember, nothing I say on this channel can be interpreted as medical advice because you're not my patient and I'm not your provider. I'm just telling you what I would do in such dire circumstances as what they put him in. If I was screwed the way he was screwed, that's what I would do, okay? And I would continue to find another provider until somebody was at least, maybe it's not going to require you going all the way back to where you were, okay? But I'm going to talk to somebody that's at least going to talk to me about giving me more than what's clearly not working. Remember, a pain plan that only allows you to sit on your sofa sucks. Say it again. A pain plan that only allows you to sit on your sofa sucks. And you ought to keep searching for a provider until they engage with you enough that the two of you together, through shared decision making and accountability on both parts, sucks less. Keep going. Don't give up. All right. And now, the final question for today. I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're getting something out of this. I hope you can tell that this isn't some bullshit. I really do care about the things that you're asking me. All right. Dr. Mike, I'm wondering if you've heard of people's pain never going away after surgery. That's exactly what complex regional pain syndrome is, when the pain never goes away. I had my share of surgery, but the problem ones were a rotator cuff and a neck fusion. My pain doctor that's been going for that I've been going to for 4 years will not increase my meds. Still has me on 10 milligrams Norco daily. They don't last 6 hours. The pain is getting so old. I have more pain problems than I listed. Thanks. All right, let's go into that a little bit. 1, 4 times a day of Norco does not mean every 6 hours. It means 4 times a day. One of the reasons why your pain plan sucks as much as it sucks is because you need to be taking your medication strategically. I will try and bring that up more another day. But the chapter that covers this topic and spells it out and tells you how to do what I'm gonna have to describe to you is called Pain Blankets Do Not Work. And on this one, that is found in, here we go. That one's found on page 90. Pain blankets do not work, okay? So taking the medication every 6 hours will not significantly help your pain. But getting your day started with it, taking it mid-morning because you're about to do these things, taking it mid-afternoon because you're about to do these things, and taking it at bedtime so you can rest can be much more effective than every 6 hours, okay? I say it to my patients this way. You're not taking the medication because it's time. You're taking the medication because of what you need to do. What you need to do is what drives the decision. I'm about to put my body under a lot of duress. I need to go out in my garden. I need to clean my house. I need to cook dinner. It's about what you're doing, not what time it is. And it's really not about what the number is on a scale of 1 to 10. Because sometimes when you take medication strategically, you take it before the pain sets in. Okay? Now, the pain is getting so old. I do think your plan needs to be looked at, needs to be adjusted, needs to have some sort of second pair of eyes. But until you can find that one, and by the way, if your pain doctor has said no more than 3 times, you're never going to get an increase. It's time to go somewhere else. Again, what I would do would be go back to my PCP and say, can you please manage my pain meds until I can find a new provider? Because they won't listen to me. Even if all you get is the same 4, at least you know that those are secure while you're looking for a new provider. Those are the things that I would do. And do you notice how I keep going back to the PCP? We're the only ones that can't say, we're the only ones that don't have the ability to say, this is not my problem. You are not a problem. Can I finish with just a few words on that? You are not a problem. No matter how much the system tries to make you feel like a problem, you're not a problem. And I spend the first 20 pages of the book helping you understand that you are more. I spend that much time going over that one point because if you don't get the part where you're not a bother, you won't get the rest of it either. As long as you feel like a bother, you're always going to let them treat you how they're treating you, and you're always going to think at least a little bit that you kind of deserve it, and it's bullshit. You don't deserve the way they've been treating you. That's it for this afternoon. We got our 5 questions in. I'll be back tomorrow, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. And don't forget that on TikTok, Dr. Mike Says, don't forget to look me up on TikTok, Dr. Mike Says, because we do have Bible study on Wednesday nights and Sunday school on Sunday mornings that I do live. And I can't wait to share that with you too. But the most important thing I want to share with you is that you are more and we love you. No buts. That's a Baptist thing. I'll explain that another time. Bye, y'all. Thanks again. A lot of participation today. Appreciate it.